Hello everyone! So today's video is a full face Wet n Wild tutorial. You guys requested more one brand full face tutorials, so that is what I am doing for you today. I did a Wet n Wild haul recently where I hauled a bunch of their new stuff, and I actually have been doing Wet n Wild hauls a few times on this channel just because they keep coming out with amazing stuff, and it's one of my favorite brands and it's cruelty free and I absolutely love them. Super affordable at the drugstore. I find Wet n Wild at Walgreens, Target, CVS, I think that's it. And then of course they have their website. I will link that below. I think it's wetnwildbeauty.com, but I will list it in my description bar. So I used 100% Wet n Wild products to get this look, and I was going for sort of a spring appropriate look, but also with a little bit of depth to it because that's just kind of my style. I like to be a little bit more kind of glamorous and more colorful. So I have the green and the purple going on, and that kind of combination. I think this would be really great for a daytime look. Maybe if you sort of tone down on the crease colors and just use the green and purple. Otherwise, I think it would be a really great nighttime look. You could add fake lashes and winged liner and make this totally awesome. So before I get into the tutorial, this video is a collaboration with one of my dearest friends here on YouTube, Alex. I am collabing with her Beauty Vlogger 101 channel. She actually has two channels. She has Beauty Vlogger 101, which is all about helping people who are aspiring beauty vloggers. So if you're new to YouTube or you want to get into YouTube or something like that, Alex's Beauty Vlogger 101 channel is all about that. She teaches you all kinds of awesome things. And the video she's doing right now is about doing voiceovers. So my video is sort of demonstrating to you how I do a voiceover actually on my iPhone using iMovie, and then Alex is going to go into much more detail about how to do that and tips and tricks and all kinds of stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see her video because I learn stuff every time I watch her videos. And Alex also has a second channel called Beauty Addict Next Door, which is her main beauty channel where she does pretty much what I do. She does reviews, tutorials, all kinds of stuff like that. And she also just went cruelty free and is one of my main inspirations for going cruelty free. So that's really cool. And she's just beautiful. She's super talented. She's super passionate about what she does. She's gonna go a really long way on YouTube, and I cannot wait to see that. She is just absolutely amazing. So if you are not subscribed to her, you should subscribe to her and check out her video. I will link both of her channels below, but I will be sure to link her Beauty Vlogger 101 video in correspondence with this video as well below. So make sure you check that out because, again, Alex is really someone that you want to be following on YouTube. Okay, another thing I wanted to mention for this tutorial, I used this palette. I actually used three different palettes and a highlighter palette on my eyes. So I apologize, but once I get going, I just like get creative and I just start dipping into all different things, and I try to, in my head I'm like, I'm gonna keep it to one palette, but it just never happens. So I apologize if that's a little inconvenient. Luckily these are fairly affordable compared to like high-end palettes. So but the ones I use this one, I use these two, and this is Paris One Way and Milano Collections. Now, they redid their packaging. These I got last year, and that's why it says Fergie on them. I don't see Fergie's name on any Wet n Wild stuff anymore, so I don't know what the story is behind that, but I just wanted to mention that even though these say Fergie on them, they are the exact same palettes that are available in the drugstore. At least I'm like 90% sure, because I took like a close-up picture. I went to the drugstore, I compared the picture of mine to the one I saw at the drugstore, and they have both these palettes, and they looked exactly the same. Like the finishes were the same, everything was the same. So I'm like 99% sure that these are the same ones that you get in the drugstore. They've just been sort of repackaged without Fergie's name on it. And then the other palette I use is just an old favorite. This is the Comfort Zone palette, and I just used this green shade here to get the green on my eyes. And I don't know why I'm telling you that. You're going to see it in the tutorial. I just sort of wanted to mention that. Oh, and also this powder is another one that has Fergie's name on it, but they repackaged it, and you can't even see her name is there. They repackaged it, and it's the same exact powder. I'm pretty sure it's just doesn't have her name on it anymore. So if you go to the drugstore and you're trying to find what I used, it's the same stuff. It's just been a little bit repackaged and sort of remarketed, I guess. So also, if you know what the story is behind why Fergie's not with Wet n Wild anymore, or maybe it's just her contract was up, I don't know, but I'm really curious about what happened, so let me know. I really want to keep talking, but I'm not. I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to get into the video so that you guys can see how I achieved this full face Wet n Wild springtime look. Okay guys, so I will be starting out with the Wet n Wild Coverall Primer. This primer is very sticky in consistency, so it's not my favorite for like smoothing out the skin or filling in pores, but it does do a really good job of making your makeup last all day because it has that sticky texture. So I just applied this all over my face and neck with my fingers and just sort of pat it into the skin, everywhere that I'm going to be applying foundation. This primer also has kind of a scent to it. It almost smells like Elmer's glue or something, which is maybe why it's so sticky. So I let that dry on my skin, and then I'm going in with the Wet n Wild Coverall foundation. I am the shade Medium. And I am using the Wet n Wild foundation brush to apply the foundation. Now, I'm not going to be using all Wet n Wild brushes for this tutorial just because I don't have all of them. I didn't have enough brushes to do a complete full face, but I am using all the ones that I have. Now I'm actually using a different brush. This is their flat top powder brush, and I'm using that to buff out the foundation. Like I mentioned in my review of these brushes, the powder brush is not that great for actually applying powder, but I really did like it for buffing out these liquid foundation products. Now I'm going in with a damp beauty blender, and I actually added a few more dots of foundation, and I am just blending all of that in. The beauty blender really helps to give it that seamless, natural skin sort of look. And this foundation isn't really liquid. I would say it's more of a cream consistency. It's very thick, and it kind of did take a lot of work to get it blended out evenly. Now I am taking their highlighting and concealing pens. I have the shades a Happy Medium and Posing Nude, and I am kind of mixing them together here under my eyes to cover up my dark circles and kind of brighten my under eye area. Here I am adding some of that darker shade of the concealer. Like I said, just mixing the two together to get kind of the right shade. I didn't want too much of a contrast under my eyes, also because the foundation is a little bit too light for me anyways, so I ended up adding a little bit of that darker concealer as well. And you can see I am just blending everything out with the pointier end of my beauty blender, which again works so well for blending cream and liquid products into the skin. Now I am taking their MegaGlo contouring palette in the shade Caramel Toffee, and I'm using the yellow shade here to set my under eye concealer. And I'm just using an e.l.f. brush here, and I just really put it on lightly and tap off my brush because I don't want too much powder or it will crease in that area, but I do like to set the under eye concealer just to make sure that it lasts all day. And I really love the yellow shade for this because it adds even extra brightening without making it look too white or too light. I think that's really why I love the yellow powder under the eyes. And then I'm just going over some other areas of my face that I want highlighted. Now I am taking their mattifying powder, which I have used a lot of, you can see, and I am just using that to set the rest of my face, and I'm focusing on the areas that I'm going to be contouring because I really want to make sure that I always have a powder on under whenever I start contouring, because if I don't, then the powder will stick to the skin and it just doesn't look very good. So now I'm going in with the same contouring palette in the shade Caramel Toffee, and I am using the bronzing shade, which is a warm bronzer shade, to warm up my forehead, the outer parts of my face, my forehead, do a little bit of contouring, and really just warm things up. I'm bringing that down the sides of my face and into the hollows of my cheeks just a little bit, really, like I said, to just kind of warm things up. And I'm using the angled powder brush by Arbonne. Next, I'm going in with their ColorIcon blush in the shade Rosé Champagne. I'm using a powder brush by Sonia Kashuk to apply this blush all over my cheeks, really from the apples of my cheeks, bringing it upwards. I feel like because this blush has a lot of shimmer in it, it works as a good highlight as well, even though I am going to go in with a highlighter in a second. So this is the ColorIcon bronzer. I believe they call it a bronzer, but it is in the shade Reserve Your Cabana, and it's basically a highlight. I think everybody uses this as a highlighter. It is kind of a cult classic. It's a beautiful soft highlighter shade, and you can see that I just really lightly touch it on the tops of my cheekbones there. And without looking too glittery or shimmery, it just really brightens it up and attracts the light to that area, and I absolutely love this product. If you haven't tried it yet, you really should. Now it's time for the eyes. I'm taking their PhotoFocus eyeshadow primer and applying that with my finger all the way from eyelid up to brow bone just to prepare the lids for eyeshadow. This is a nice eyeshadow primer. It's similar to the one Wet n Wild used to have by Fergie, kind of like the face primer. It is a little bit sticky, so it takes a lot of blending in, but it definitely does the job. Now I am taking this eyeshadow palette. I don't know what the name of it is because the one I have, it has been repackaged since I got it, so it has a different name now, but I'm taking that bright purple shade and I'm packing that all over the lid, and then I'm taking that taupe shade from the neutral palette and blending that just above the purple shade, kind of as a transition color. And I'm just using a Real Techniques brush to blend it out, soften the edges a little bit. Then I'm taking that end shade there and placing it on the inner corner of my eyes. I'm using a small Sonia Kashuk brush for that. Now I'm taking this Comfort Zone palette and I'm taking that beautiful green shade there, and I actually foiled it. I actually used the Wet n Wild setting spray, sprayed it on my brush, and then dipped my brush into that green eyeshadow and then applied it onto my eyelids, and that really made the color pop. It helped layer it over the purple, and I think it made a really cool effect. It definitely takes more work to do it this way because you have to spray your brush and dip it in continuously, but I think it's worth it. I think the final look is really fantastic, especially if you have an eyeshadow that maybe isn't as pigmented or doesn't want to layer. Using this technique really helps to make that shadow pop. And then you can see that I did the same thing with a different brush with that purple shade. I went back in with that purple shade, sprayed my brush with the setting spray, and reapplied it to really make that pop and stand out. Then I'm taking their illuminating palette and that end shade there and placing that on the inner corner just to brighten it even more. Now with their lash primer, I am just priming my lashes for mascara. I apply this pretty carefully. I try to coat all the lashes and make sure they're not sticking together too much. Otherwise, of course, they will look clumpy once you put mascara on. And then I like to just let it sit for a good 2 or 3 minutes to make sure that it's dry. Now moving on to brows, this is the Ultimate Brow Mascara, and this is all I have been using in my brows lately. I feel like it fills them in very nicely, keeping my natural shape, and it doesn't make them look too harsh or angular or anything, if you know what I mean. It just really helps to fill in the gaps and create a nice shape. So I really like this brow mascara. It is a little bit lighter than my hair, so it does look, my brows look a little bit lighter, but I'm okay with that. I think it looks nice. This is one of their ColorIcon Kohl eyeliners in the shade Calling Your Buff. And I am lining my waterline, which is the space between my eyelashes and my eyeball. And I am just placing this there to brighten up my eyes and make them look more awake. Now I am using this Max Volume Plus mascara, which if you follow me on Instagram, you saw my post when I hauled this. So this video is actually the first time that I ever used this mascara, and I have to say I was impressed. I really liked it. I didn't think I liked Wet n Wild mascaras until this one, but I like it. It has a synthetic brush with those bristles that are kind of spread apart and sharp, if you know what I mean, and then it tapers at the end. So it's really good at getting in there and coating all the lashes, and with that lash primer, I was really happy with the way that my lashes turned out. And I even tried it on the bottom lashes, and I thought it worked quite well. And for lips, I'm using the MegaLast lipstick in the shade In the Flesh 912C. I love the formula of these lipsticks. I love the color of this lipstick. I wanted a fairly neutral shade, and I think that it turned out perfect. And now I am just setting my face with that same setting spray that I used to foil the eyeshadows earlier. And the setting spray has alcohol in it, so it can be kind of drying, but I do feel like it makes your makeup last all day. Alright, then I am just styling my hair as I do, and that is it. The look is complete. Hope you guys enjoyed this look. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. Make sure you check out Alex's channel if you haven't already, and her video on voiceovers, because like I said, you will learn something, I guarantee it. She is full of information and so sweet. So thank you to her for collabing with me, and thank you guys for watching.